Urban Studies, Professor JASPER ABEMBIA AYELAZUNO. Prof, thank you very much for your time and good morning to you.
Good morning, Sena. Good morning to the whole team. I'm greeting you from Tamale. I hope you are all doing well.
We are doing very well. First, it started as an Israel-Iran conflict. In fact, it started a bit earlier with the Gaza and the threats and everything. But initially, it was not clear what the U.S.'s stance would be because the invitation from Israel was joined. And it seems Donald Trump has decided, and he decided to go with joining the war. I want to find out what your own analysis of this whole issue is. What is happening for you?
Okay, Senator, thank you for the question. First of all, I have to disclose that I'm not an expert in Middle East geopolitics or politics in general. But as a political scientist, and considering that international relations is a key element of political science, and the fact that what happens at the international arena also affects our lives here in Africa and in Ghana. So one has to be very much interested in issues like this. So if I am to comment from that perspective, you see that there's a close relationship between domestic politics and international politics. You cannot separate them. There's no watertight separation between them. So if you look at what the decision taken by Donald Trump to strike Iran is clearly related to his own personal politics and the domestic politics of the U.S. Never mind the fact that he campaigned on the issue of America not getting involved in stupid Middle East wars. But here's the case, on assuming power, he has decided to start another war in the Middle East rather than resorting to diplomacy. Diplomacy would have been the best approach to solving this problem. But knowing Donald Trump, knowing how erratic he is, sometimes he can be influenced by his own personal, interest, especially his ego. And the fact that he always keeps saying that they will protect their ally, which is Israel. So bear in mind that he said he was not sure that he was going to strike Iran or to get involved. Actually, he was actually saying the diplomatic route should be the best approach. Less than a week, when he was talking about diplomacy, then he resorted to war. So clearly, this is about him and his clique of advisors who are extreme right-wing, politicians who believe that America is so powerful, it can do whatever it wants. So you remember he keeps saying that American military is the most powerful. It has the capacity to strike and all that. So when I look at these things, I think I want to relate it to Donald Trump and his personal ego, and then how he thinks about American politics and how the role America should play in international politics. And that role is about showing power, the U.S. power. But if you look at that, I mean, we are now in a different world where there are other competitors, more other powerful actors at the international scene, like China and then Russia. So I think they might be believing in a legacy that is no longer relevant in this present, era of international politics, where you have other powerful actors who can actually also decide to support Iran against Israel. And when that happens, we are facing a very dangerous situation.
Now, the interesting thing with the domestic politics of the U.S. is that initial observations, it seems his national security advisor was of the opinion that Iran did not have nuclear weapons and didn't see the need for the U.S. to attack. Shut down by Donald Trump himself to the point that she had to immediately recall and back the position of Donald Trump. His own base, that's called the MAGA base, have spoken about how he has disappointed them because the promise was not to go to war. Are those contradictions not interesting, that perhaps even he might not have the support of the base that he usually count on?
Yes, and then that's where his erratic behavior, his ego, come in here to play. And if you have such an erratic character in charge of the most powerful army, perhaps the country with maybe the most dangerous nuclear weapons, all in the hands of this erratic president or person who only thinks about his ego and his personal interest, we are definitely headed for an international crisis of dangerous proportions, where we can even be talking about the possibility of a third world war. Bear in mind that after the Second World War, we have never had an interstate war of that magnitude. Until now, we are seeing signs of that, because I don't think Joe Biden or a different president would have acted this way. Diplomacy, the UN Charter that respects the sovereignty of member states, territorial integrity, and the usual approach is to use diplomacy first. And this is what most presidents in the U.S. have been doing. Despite the awesome power that they have, they know that the best approach is to use diplomacy. Because where you resort to war, like in the case of the Iraq war, you can't say there are winners. It only led to the disruption, instability in the Middle East, with the emergence of terrorist groups, and all that didn't actually address the Middle East complex problems, political problems. And that's why, many international relation experts will say it's better to resort to diplomacy rather than war. Because in this present era, where apparently we have other equally powerful actors, like I was saying, Russia and China, you never know what can happen. It's not those olden days that you say the American imperialist or empire that was unchallenged. During that period, now the Cold War era is over, and say between then, that time and now, a lot has changed in terms of the emergence of other equally powerful actors at the international scene. So if Trump is just, like he wants to say, boast about the power of U.S. military and how powerful the country is, he might be making a mistake. He might be living in a dreamland, because we are now living in a different era that he cannot claim absolute power as an empire of the world. But it doesn't look like he's getting that reality. He's just still living with the old legacy of America being the most powerful state, and for that matter, it can do whatever it wishes. And that then takes us to an international governance structure that is unfair to most states. How come that Israel can do whatever it wants? How come that the U.S. can do whatever it wants? And other states are just supposed to comply. And yet we think that we are living in a global order, a world order that is a bit, some people will say, can preserve peace. The reality is that in this world order, you have bigger or powerful states that are treated, with some, special, with some way favored in a way, or they are allowed to do whatever they want, and the smaller or weaker states are just supposed to comply. And Iran is not that smaller or weaker states that we have in Africa. I mean, it's also a very powerful state. You can see that it is threatening to attack American military in the region, and it is even, also retaliating. It is attacking Israel. So this is not your typical weak state that you can do whatever you want with it. And as this situation exacerbates, we must all be thinking about a situation where a third world war is even possible.
The question I asked Mr. Momani was a worst case scenario for you. For you, the worst case scenario is a third world war?
Yes, it's possible. And I'm just not just, I don't want to sound alarmist, but if you look at what is happening, if people don't pull the brakes and then let, people who are more mature to take control, and they leave it in the hands of somebody like Donald Trump, as I said, who is just concerned about his personal ego, concerned about his personal friendship with the Prime Minister of Israel. If you left to these two actors of these two states, then the prospects are not bright. But hopefully, we can hope that the other global governance institutions, particularly the UN, and then other powerful states like China and Russia, might, resort to the diplomacy route, and then probably get the U.S. to, probably stop its very chaotic behavior in an international order that is not under its control. Those days are gone. This international order is shaped by many powerful actors, and not necessarily by the U.S. But if that doesn't happen, and we have this chaotic and erratic behavior of Donald Trump, bear in mind that he said that this is just the beginning, and that more is to follow if Iran doesn't, go back to the negotiation table. Iran never left the negotiation table anyway. They were still happy to negotiate, and then you resorted to war. So what are you talking about going back to the negotiation table? So, I mean, if care is not taken, and not to sound alarmist, we are really facing an international crisis that can actually escalate to something disastrous.
Now, the anger in the U.S. is that there's a feeling that it seems Israel is now dictating American foreign policy. What do you make of this suggestion from within the U.S. that what Trump has done is essentially kowtowing to Israel?
Yes, and that is the point I was making a while ago. about the personal friendship between Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister. Bear in mind that when Joe Biden was there, he was, he didn't get his way. What he wanted from the U.S., yes, U.S. continued to keep, Joe Biden continued to say that Israel is their ally, and we know that Israel is the ally of U.S. for historical reasons. That fact is there, but it doesn't mean that you get whatever you want. Usually, most U.S. presidents will try to support Israel whilst being alert to the broader implication for international order. So they will try to do whatever they can to protect Israel, but try to avoid a situation where there could be chaos or war if care is not taken. But in the case of Trump, he's basically kowtowing or bound down to the Israeli interest, which is so narrow. It's about their existence or their survival in the geopolitical environment that is very hostile to them, which is understandable. But there has never been a situation where in the last, say, 30 or 40 years where an American president has ordered an attack on Iran. They have always been negotiating on these nuclear arms deals and trying to see how they can use diplomacy to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. This president, Donald Trump, is a total different person. Totally different. He's so erratic. It's about his ego. And he has a clique of advisors that are basically, like him. They can't stand up to his infantile, ego. And for that matter, he gets to do whatever he wants. And that is so, so dangerous for the world. But here we are. This is what Americans have elected as their president. I mean, what can we say? The only thing we have to, as Africans, we are concerned about is the impact, the negative effects of this war on Africans, especially their economy. Bear in mind that most African countries depend on oil, the export of crude oil, and the import of, refined oil products. And this is likely to have a very negative impact on their economy. And that is what we should be worried about. And then certainly we should be worried about this escalating to a third world war.
Prof, thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, Sena.
Professor JASPER ABEMBIA AYELAZUNO is Associate Professor of Political Science, University of Development Studies, joining us. I know the peer is US-based, and he's been listening to us and be sharing some thoughts on what he thinks about this. First, he says, Iran